Well, hi there. My name's Carpo. I'm just some random guy on the internet, and I decided today I'm going to complain about fashion. Not really. I am, but it's not just some casual discussion. I've actually been disgusted by not just fast fashion, but fashion in general for my whole life. Since I was younger, I never understood people walking down the runway with these crazy pointy dresses that nobody would ever wear in real life. But I'm not talking about that kind of quote fashion, which is not fashion. I guess it is a fashion. I guess clothing is always in some sort of fashion. Everything comes down to the terms. We have to define the terms. And I'm talking about trends and what triggered this. I guess I should, there are many different topics I could expound on, but it was some channel my 10-year-old was watching, one of those channels where it seems like everyone has to scream at you all the time now, and a bunch of teenagers, screaming at their audience to buy their merch, and they get all these packages, they're opening them, and they get a couple pairs of Yeezys, and there you go, oh, Yeezys, Yeezys. I've seen some of these shoes. They're an abomination, and they're considered stylish because Kanye West designed them, I guess. But this isn't really a jab. He doesn't need any jabs. That guy's to me, I don't understand people who consider themselves fashion icons. I don't understand people who consider themselves artists and define it themselves, but not in a normal way, but in a pretentious way. Because of people who call themselves designers and artists, people like myself are embarrassed to even call ourselves artists. I like to draw, I like to design. I'm not very good at drawing, I'm not very good at painting either. But I do different types of work, which I would consider art. However, there's kind of a barrier, just like there's a barrier in fashion. So I'm getting a little off track. I'm talking about there's style and then there's fashion. Fashion is people saying, oh, well, I want to wear what's in fashion. But that's not style. That's copying what other people are wearing. That's copying usually people who have money, people who can afford more expensive clothing. This is the irony here. You would think that style would be something you could go to Goodwill and pick up what you like. That's what I like to do. I have my own style. I wear my own weird jewelry. I make my own jewelry. I make my own, patchwork on my clothes. I sew on patches. I've got my own style, but it's not based on anyone else's style. Even though when I go to a Dead show or something, or walk around in general, I like to wear tie-dyes or jewelry that reflects that I have a certain personality, that I'm a hippie type, right? But this is important to communication because you communicate verbally and appearance wise. You can't get away from that. If you dress like an average Joe, you'll get treated like an average Joe. Dress like a hippie, you'll get treated like a hippie. That can be good or bad, depending on who you're meeting up with. And I only respect the opinions of people who understand it, generally, when it comes to that, mindset. Anyway, so there are people who want to buy the latest fashion. They want to carry a Coach purse, for example. This is something that's always, ever since I understood what Coach was or even heard about Coach purses, kept seeing these stupid little symbols like on Louis Vuitton, and I was so out of the loop, and I was like, why do people carry these bags with these symbols? Oh, and the internet age brought it pretty clear. But these are products that they claim to be all handmade and the highest quality, which at one time may have been true. But supply and demand, you know how that turns out. I want to compare the clothing, or let's say fashion versus style, with a car versus vehicle. This is another thing that kind of, on the way home from work and then after I got home, I've heard plenty of these little fart cannons shooting along the freeway. I live about, well, 1 block from a 6-lane road. I mean, there are lights like every other block, but it's still a highway. It's Mill Plain Boulevard, and it's a pretty busy place. And at night, people, and even in the day when it's not busy, kids like to race their little fart cannons up and down the street. When I was younger, a teenager, glass packs were very popular. My buddy Scoey had a Z car. It was a 1978 Datsun 280Z, and it was painted like this metallic purple. It was a beautiful car, and but he put a glass pack on it, and those were basically designed to make your car louder. Now, did it give you more gas mileage or better performance? I don't know. I doubt it. But people made all kinds of claims about every product. Really, it made your car louder, and it said, "Look at me." Now, this is the same way that when people buy a motorcycle, a Harley Davidson, the standard muffler isn't loud enough. So there's a whole industry behind retrofitting brand new Harleys with louder mufflers. And get this, and I'm sure there's some bikers out there who will defend this, but there's a saying in the biker community. I know, my buddy had a bike: loud pipes save lives. And what this means is that it'll save your life if people hear you coming because you've got loud mufflers. But the truth is, sound travels backwards as you're going forward. People don't hear your bike until you're right on them. It's been proven over and over that most accidents are rear-ending or side crashes, but many of them are the biker's fault. That's not the point, but it's become a trend. And people who ride bikes, this is the point of bringing up motorcycles more than just it being a trend. Harley Davidson is a huge trend. It's not about riding bikes. It's about what bike do you ride, right? And I get this. People want community. They want people that interact in the way they do and are into the things they do. But think about it. What kind of people do you want to interact with? So with the clothes versus style, or fashion versus style, if you wear a certain style that says I'm a yuppie, then you're going to attract other people who have that same attitude. And I don't know, maybe that's what people like, but it always brings to mind the hipsters wanting to completely get away from society's, quote, standards of dress. And therefore, a couple decades later, all the hipsters do dress the same. Flannel shirts or button-up shirts with a jeans, or whatever pants they're wearing. They're tight and they're rolled up, and they wear Doc Martens or whatever they wear. But there's a style to being a hipster. Not dissing. Hey, if that's your thing, so be it. But admit that it's a style to tell other people I'm a hipster. Not to tell other people I'm an individual, but that I go along with many of these values that people who wear these same clothes do. And that's, I think, where we get into the problem. Identification, virtue signaling, identifying with a group, and that is why these things bother me. People can dress however they want to dress, but if it reflects some sort of a status, I think it's bullshit. I didn't even know that there was a whole community based around, like, a whole trend around buying these certain brands of really expensive clothes from these designers and pretending to be rich. It's the weirdest thing to me. Like, I guess our society has created that, and I should expect it. But honestly, it comes down to bragging versus actual experience. And, yeah. It's a fucked up thing, ain't it? There's a huge movement for brand dedication. People who are extremely dedicated to what brand they buy. It's in the, mountain biking community. It's in the, every community you can imagine. One aspect I really wanted to mention when it came to fashion was how similar it is to art. And the reason it's a problem is this. In the art world, many horrible works of art, or okay works of art, sell for millions of dollars because they have a name attached to them. Whereas phenomenal art is sold down at the Saturday market for a couple $100 all day long. If you were to actually judge art based on its merit and the quality of art and didn't know who painted it, it would change. It always does. Anytime they have people look at art without knowing who made it, they judge cheaper art better, but they still will pay 1,000 times more for something that has a name on it. That's just the way it goes. But it's pretty absurd because a lot of the smaller artists don't get paid what they're worth. And the same thing happens in the fashion industry. Listen, I can hear a fart cannon shooting down the freeway right now. Oh no, that's a motorcycle. Yeah, just as bad. But anyway, hey man, I'm an old man. I'm getting on to be 50, but that ain't the reason. I've always hated people who have loud vehicles. People who just want to be seen and want to be heard. I think it's preposterous. It's like, respect everyone around you. If your car can be heard from a mile away, you're an asshole. It doesn't matter what you drive or what you ride. If you live in the city and your car can be heard from even a half mile away, you're a dick. But that's another story altogether. Brand dedication, I don't know, I guess it's like be OG or be preyed upon. Like, I like to do my own thing. I like to wear my own clothes. I like to support, like Dopapod, right? I'm wearing this shirt today. And a necklace my wife bought me from Russia. I think she ordered it like years ago. It's like a stained glass crow. And I really love corvids, crows, ravens, black, certain scrub jays. But anyway, I do have my own style. And I'm not saying people shouldn't have a style. I'm saying people shouldn't give a fuck about fashion because it's a disgusting industry. Fast fashion is the worst. Can you imagine if people went around proud, like, I'm wearing Old Navy? They don't, but it's just something people say I buy because it's cheap. You don't have to buy crappy clothes. You can buy a shirt that'll last years. At a concert, you can buy one at the Goodwill. I'm not telling people what to wear. I like to go buy a nice new shirt once in a while, but honestly, I can't think of the last time I bought clothes at a clothing store. Like, it's got to be at least a decade. But that's me. And it's important for me to acknowledge that and to not say other people should think the way I think. I know that's not the fact, not the truth. But really, if you're a guy who drives a fart cannon, if you're somebody who's into fashion or thinks the runways matter, just consider whether or not the style you have is really your own. And it only really matters because people spend a lot of money. Brings me back to Yeezys. I heard somebody earlier say, wait, they pay hundreds of dollars for a pair of shoes? And somebody's like, yeah. Like, what? They were surprised at like $500 for a pair of shoes. Like, dude, they charge a hell of a lot more than that. And most of these shoes aren't even meant to be worn. That's a whole different world altogether. But honestly, people really like to be seen in their expensive clothing. And I think it's kind of gross. Just like they like to be seen in their fancy cars. And I think that's gross too. I think no matter who you are, no matter what you do, how much money you have, if you go out trying to be recognized for having money, if you flash cash, if you flex, you're a gross person. And I stand by that. That's how I feel. I think it's the worst thing people can do to each other, especially considering how many people struggle, It's just, flexing is dumb, and it shows a deep insecurity. I don't know. Rant over. Talk to y'all next time. Thanks for coming along. Be sure to donate to my Patreon if you want more shit, and also hit the like button at least. Be cool. Leave a comment. Be nice. I'll see you next time. Comments are cool. Bye.